And we're back to Breakthrough Trinidad and Tobago. Still here, your lovely host. And joining us, well, what you would have just seen would have been a highlight, sort of a highlight reel of a production called Divali Mastani, which is an annual production that happens here on WESN Content Capital. And this year, it would have started already. It started on Saturday, and it's going all the way until Diwali. So you need to make sure and check it out. All of the clips, make sure that you stay up to date with when it's airing. To talk more about it with us, we have one of the co-producers and the host of Divali Mastani, Sham G. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's very nice to be here.
I feel so bad because technically the crew goes out, film these things with you.
Right.
You all did also Diwali Passport, put that together, I guess remotely, right?
Good, that's right.
But this is the first time we've met.
Oh, it is the first time. And you know, it's a funny thing because I keep saying to my wife, who's part of our company, Bmobile, who would have collaborated with WESN, that I feel like I'm an unofficial part of, we are unofficial employees, so to speak, or partners with WESN. And the history, I could go back in a little bit and tell you about how far back we go with Rodney and with Mr. Burke, Ryan, Joash, and the rest of the crew here. So it's a whole long history. But I am happy to be here finally. This is my first time live on the air, because every time I've been on, it's been a production.
Okay.
So it's nice.
For our, so they would have seen Divali Mastani, but for viewers who are new to it as well, what is it really about? What was the concept behind it? And what was the inspiration behind starting it?
Well, two-part questions. Let me tell you. The inspiration behind starting it would have come from Rodney Ghani, your boss.
Executive, yeah.
The executive producer of the show. And Rodney would have approached us, Market Moguls, our advertising company, again, owned by my wife and myself. And because knowing that myself, and of course, again, I keep referring to my wife, we would have had extensive knowledge in the Indian-based media. I would have started 29 years ago in media, and Bollywood-based content more so, but I do everything else, anchor news and everything else for various television stations. But with that wealth of knowledge about the Indian cultural sphere is what would have prompted Rodney to contact us and create this particular program, because we've, over the years, sought to really create quality content, quality programming, and handpick the artists that we work with, and we have a broad artist base to choose from. And so that was what spawned Divali Mastani. You wanted something specific, a product for WESN that was created for WESN exclusively, that dealt with the essence of Diwali, not wholly and solely the bhajan and the religious aspect, but also encapsulating historical landmarks, so to speak. Right. That's why you'd see the very first, when we were opening up there, you saw that we had gone to the famous Dattatreya Yoga Center, which is, the history behind that is tremendous. If you go back and you look at the clip that we had done that dealt with the history of the temple, how it became known to be the Dattatreya Yoga Center, how they built the temple, the people behind it. So that is all encapsulated into Divali Mastani. Diwali, we know what Diwali is, the festival. Mastani literally means joyful or cheerful. It's like Mastana Bahar. Mastana means joyful spring, joyful season. Mastana would be the male concept of Mastani.
Okay.
Right, they're actually girls named Mastani. So Mastani will be gleeful, joyful, cheerful. So cheerful Diwali Mastani. And that's how it came to be.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. Now, Sean, you would have been sort of with this, not with it.
This is one of the few projects that I never did any work on. I never been on a crew on, because we actually do, I guess you could say, what might be like the little cousin to Divali Mastani, which would be the Christmas presentations. One of the things with that is now Mark, he has his own source of artists.
Right.
But with regards to Divali Mastani, it is, instead of like a 1 night, 2 hour or 1 hour presentation, this is a 5 night or more situation. And you're able to get not just one time,
Right.
but this is what, the 4th year now where you have this amount of
production.
content.
Wow. Right.
Right? Like, is it that our local talent pool, because this is one of the things. One, I wouldn't have been aware about our local talent pool in the Indian cultural space without Divali Mastani. And obviously I don't know completely, that's not enough to know, right? But even like what you were talking about with the yoga center, it exposed the whole existence and the beauty of it and everything to someone like me who would have just never known. You know, and this is our backyard. This is not like somewhere in Southeast Asia in some jungle, some hidden temple ruin. This is right, I could drive there if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's very famous actually, as a matter of fact. This is one of the reasons why we've chosen to go to these specifically popular spots. And these spots are super popular amongst people who are of the inclination of the Hindu diaspora, the Hindu faith and that sort of thing, and they've got a large following. Getting back to something you would have asked me, I'm trying to remember.
With the large talent pool, I mean, how impressive is it that, or well, I guess, I mean, maybe it's impressive to me, but how does it make you feel that you know that there's so many people that we could call upon who are willing to be a part of this type of production to kind of highlight an aspect of
do good work.
Culture and do good work.
Well.
Right. So that's a challenge in itself, I'll tell you, because we have to say thank you to all of the artists who would have joined us on Divali Mastani. And because when they came on, nobody comes on and says, I want to get paid for this. We invite them to be part of our production, our award-winning production, Divali Mastani. We can brag about that. 2 years ago, we would have won Best Entertainment Show in the Caribbean by the Caribbean Media Awards, as you would know, obviously, along with other shows under our WESN brand. But the talent pool is so rich and so strong in Trinidad because you have, under the Indian brand of entertainment, so to speak, you have various types of music. As you know, you have the chutney with Ravi B and the chutney scene and all the chutney artists. You've got some of them even doing soca, some of them doing bhajans. A lot of the artists who would have come on were artists who started singing in temples. So they've got a very devotional background to their talent base. So they started singing bhajans in temples as children, and they grew up with that entire vibe.
That sacred
And then some of them who cross over into singing exclusively Bollywood songs, they also would have started in temples. So when you ask them to go back to, it's like a classical, it's like if you learn to play music classically, and then you branch over into, your base is classical.
It's like a lot of the R&B singers in the States, and locally, a lot of singers locally, where did they start? In the church.
Right.
You know?
Correct.
They're not necessarily gospel singers now, but that's where they started off.
Yeah, and you have to have that rich base to prove that you can seamlessly move between, say, a classical song, a bhajan song, with a bhajan being a Hindu devotional song, and then, of course, a Bollywood song. So Divali Mastani encapsulates these artists. One of the things we've been doing, guys, is over the years, if you look, there are many, many productions out there for Divali. Let's face it.
Yeah.
It's obvious. Many people are doing productions, but they are productions, and then they are productions.
Yes.
Right? Now, going back to why it was so much of a thrill for us to get involved with WESN to work on this production, Divali Mastani, is because we know where the production crew came from. I had anchored news for, I think, 14 years. Josh, you could, Rodney, correct me if I'm wrong, and Burke, they would have been our news team, production news team, directing news from over the street across here when I anchored news for ITV in the evening. That was many years ago. And that's where we would have met many years ago. And so I know the production team that we're working with. And I know the type of production they have, and I know the kind of training they have. So when you go out and you shoot, and you look at the different angles to shoot at, and you look at the temple, you say, okay, I want to shoot this temple a certain way.
Yes.
I want the shots to be right. And I must give Josh and Ryan and Rodney and the entire team props for being so meticulous about how they shoot. Because I'll tell you something that some people might find controversial, but Indian programming and Indian content has been produced in a very shabby manner over the years. And so, not the ones that I produced. So
You're actually not the first person to, I've heard say.
You've heard that.
I've heard that
but that is not exclusive to Indian content. This is just content locally
Local,
content,
yes,
right?
there's a lot of-
So again, coming back to the skills and the skill sets that these guys came with, we thought, you know what, we want to show these artists how rich and wonderful we could shoot this and present this to the point where we can win an award, right? And then you look at the other guys, with all due respect to them, and you know, we have trained industry people. I mean, we live in what I call a TikTok-y generation, where everybody picks up a phone and everybody pretends to be a host, everybody pretends to be a media person, everybody pretends to be some sort of a media knowledgeable person. And then you're doing very superficial work that is very, to the average eye, it might be nice. It might be good for just comic relief. But then when you look at, if you really want proper content, you know, content capital is where you come to.
I mean, even on social media, camera skills are still camera skills.
Right, exactly.
When you're shooting video, you still, I think, in social media, there are some groups that have grown, and when it comes down to it, they're not just a set of people, with phones making videos anymore. They have proper cameras, proper setups, multi-camera shots. Yes. They might make sets. So, yes, it might not be television as we knew it yesterday, but it essentially is the same type of skills. And I mean, I guess it might sound biased, but the stuff that our crew does look very well. And I guess to highlight, it's not just a Indian cultural problem in TNT. It's more like TNT.
It's a local problem.
Is it that media, and to some extent, you could limit it to the cultural aspect, right? But is there any concerns that media might be a little too complacent?
I think that I've got to go back a little bit and to answer this question, because I think we probably, I want to say, let me pick on Rodney. Rodney and myself, we're of the same generation, right?
Right.
So we would have been at a point where we saw the proliferation of media. We got into media when there was analog media. There was no digital nothing. Right. I was doing radio with reel-to-reel machines. Right. Everything was analog, right? And then we got to the point where we saw the rise of the digital age. You had digital boards, you had digital cameras, you had everything, mass control went digital. You went, now you have cell phones, and then you started to get media content starting to pop up all over the place by people who are not trained to do media. So over the years, I think you would have, it's as if people stopped learning, in my experience, stopped learning or bothering to learn the fundamentals and the basics of how to hold this camera, how to shoot this, how to light this, all these things. And again, I go back to the guys here and the experience that they would have brought to the table. So the complacency aspect is there, because there are people who would pick up a really fancy looking camera and, oh my God, it's got depth of field, it's got rich, it's 4K, and it looks really rich. But when you editing it, it's a different story. So, you know.
The shot just looks boring.
Yeah. So there is no replacement for knowledge and experience, which is what we bring to the table here with you guys and the productions that you guys.
Now, you would have mentioned when you brought on when you, Rodney and Burke, and you all would have started off, and it's a point that we make here with our guests as well, where it's not just you bring up the point. Is it nepotism, or is it just good networking when you know the people?
You don't necessarily want to work with someone random. You are like, I'm going to the people who I know could get this job
that
done.
are dependable and produce good quality things.
I agree 100%. I've done stuff with people independently, and then when I look at the production, I go, I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that.
No.
And then sometimes when you work with the right people, then you get the quality that you. It's a personal thing. I have friends, lots of friends in the media. They choose to do different productions, and that's fine. I'm happy for them. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. But I choose to be more specific and discriminating about what I choose to do.
Sorry, I want to squeeze this in. You say you should not have done that. It actually goes to a question that I want to ask. The importance of platforms like this for any cultural showcase. Right, not just East Indian culture, but anything. Because one of the things that I fear is that, arts and culture is like sports in TNT. It's a red-headed stepchild that we only remember when it's convenient to do so.
Right.
And by having these projects where maybe you might have been a part of and regretted, or weren't a part of and was grateful, right? Like it almost like maybe it kind of cheapens or pulls things down. How important is it that, look, we want to showcase the culture, but we need to showcase it right, otherwise the public might not really take us seriously.
Right. So, I mean, it comes back to the production value. Sometimes you would be surprised. You take experienced hosts, you take myself, you take all the best experienced people you have, and then the crew turns out to be not so experienced, and they make us, who are experienced people, look not so good in the end. So it's like taking an actor who's you take a Leonardo DiCaprio and you give it an amateur video crew to shoot a video with him, a movie with him. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
So it's you got to have it's got to be a level playing field for everybody on board to be at the same skill set, or at least around that area, so that the final product looks the way you want it to look. I mean, I'm straying away from Divali Mastani here a lot, but I mean, so I promise to get back to the content of the show. Well, I know we got to go to break soon, but I'm always when next time we come back.
Just because, I mean, Divali Mastani won an award, but I think the point is the first one didn't have the award, but it was still able to get off the ground, and for that, I would make the assumption to say TNT is grateful.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%.
So, and based on what you said, you know, collaboration is how this industry survives. So you'd be very intentional with who you collaborate with.
Right. Call back to the previous conversation.
Exactly. So we have to throw to a clip as we end. Sham G, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Keep watching Diwali Mastani, 8 p.m. every night up until Diwali, all right, which is this Thursday. As we throw out to this clip, thank you. Continue to support our artists, our creatives, all of our directors, and all creatives, artists in the space. Have a wonderful week. Trinidad and Tobago. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.